All right, it is 12 on the dot, so we are going to get started today. Welcome to Crisis Averted, 11 Steps Your Business Needs to Prepare for the Coronavirus Economic Panic. My name is Heather Marquez, and I am a partner with Action Coach. I run Action Coach Mind Links here in the Cedar Valley, and I'm also an executive director with the John Maxwell team. And I want to welcome you today and congratulate you for taking control of your business. This is a pretty intense time right now, and so it's really important that we as business owners are doing everything we can to control what we can control. So I'm bringing this information to you today because I have the unique privilege of being part of two organizations that are working really hard to create resources for both leaders and business owners during this chaotic time. So I'm going to be sharing with you information that is put together from the CEO and founder of Action Coach, the #1 business coaching organization in the world. And this is really a compilation of over 1,000 coaches working with tens of thousands of business owners around the world. So the concepts that I'm going to be sharing today are ones that Action Coach has used to help our clients through the last 4 significant downturns or crises, if you will, over the course of the last 26 years. And so we know these are things that businesses need to be aware of. We know these are things that you need to be thinking through right now. And we really feel like because we have All right, so if you guys can do me a quick favor, those of you who are on the call, if you could just raise your hand if the sound is okay. If you can hear me, give me some hand raises. Yay. All right, so first and foremost, if you don't have a pen and paper, something to take notes with, your tablet, whatever the case may be, grab that right now. I'm going to tell you we're not here to talk about the health problems or the virus. That's not my area of expertise. There are a lot of places that you can go to get information on that. What we're going to be talking about is business, because here is what we do know. Whatever you thought 2020 was going to be like, whatever you planned for 2020, however you thought things would go or felt you'd perform, it is now different. It will be shifting significantly. All the plans that you had up to this point will have to shift and change in order to manage the economic impact of this virus. We know that supply chains are changing. Customer spending habits are different. We're already seeing different buying needs and even some hoarding. Anybody out there try and buy some toilet paper recently? So seriously, there's a lot of crazy behaviors going on, and we're seeing some major groupthink happening. This is a time where we need to turn panic as business owners into a plan in order to be successful. When 2008 hit, our community actually had sort of a triple whammy. We not only had to contend with the economic crisis from a mortgage virus, if you will, we also had to contend with a flood of epic proportions and an entire local town devastated by a tornado. What did we learn? We learned that things took too long. So today is about learning what needs to happen and what you need to do if you haven't already started to do so. So make sure you've got something to write with, take notes. We're going to go pretty quick. This is going to be a high level of these concepts. And at the end, I'm going to share information with you on how you can join me for a day virtually to really work through some of these things. I normally hold a quarterly growth club that I charge $247 for to the public. We meet in a workspace. It's a great day of business planning and community and networking, but things have changed, and we know that we need to make that virtual. And because we know that it's our first time doing that full day of training virtual, and it's what the business owners in our community need to work through this, we are going to actually be shifting that day from a paid event to a free event for any business owner that wants to attend. And again, it'll be virtual. So at the end of this, I'll share details on how you can sign up for that and participate. And during that time, we'll actually go into a lot of these concepts with more depth. So today is really about jumpstarting your thinking and getting you to look at your business in a different way so that you can be more proactive and more prepared to really deal with what's coming. So the 11 steps that your business has to start today is really about giving you some food for thought and helping you start to plan through some things. So as we study what's going on, we know that China's scenario, they sort of have a bell curve, and we've been able to watch when it grows, when it reduces, and I think we're going to be able to take a lot of examples and learn about the timeline from all of this from them. So I think as a business owner, it's really important right now to be watching what the other communities, world communities are doing as they are cycling through this, the ones who have been hit first. I don't know that Italy is going to be our best example in this, but I think China will be a really good place for us to watch what's going on so that we can start to anticipate those things filtering over to us. Now, for a period of time, and we don't know the length of time, this is going to affect people's ideas. It's going to affect their mentality about what is possible and what's not possible. And so we need to be really prepared for the economic impact because we've already seen people exhibit irrational behaviors throughout this. And so we need to keep noticing what's happening in our markets. Now, the World Health Organization is calling this a pandemic. So we're going to leave that to the health experts. We will have an economic downturn, likely evolving as we have observed over the last few days. This is a really fluid situation. And I think it's really important that we make sure that we're taking into consideration the latest updates. So with that being said, it's important to monitor the news, but not be consumed with the news because we still have things we need to do in business in order to get through this successfully. And we know that there are two sides of this. There are businesses that are being affected quite dramatically in a negative way. We're seeing that with the airlines, the hospitality industry, the travel, the tourist industry. And then we also see that there are some industries who are getting a bump or an uplift, if you will, like commercial cleaning organizations. So we're going to see a lot of different things happening. And I think it's important to keep your finger on the pulse of this, but also be realistic and knowing that there are things that we can all control. So we're going to dig right in. The very first step that you need to take right now is to communicate. When it comes to crisis communications, if you always focus on building a relationship with your customers, fans, and followers, you will always find yourself communicating in the right direction. Now, when crisis happens, people go straight to worry. And when worry happens, people go to the negative, which then causes us to get some pretty negative results. So you need to start communicating with your team. You need to have daily communication with them, and it needs to be real communication, the good, the bad, the indifferent. You need to be talking about, here's what we're doing, here's what's changing, here's the next thing. And if you're working virtually, then use video. We have technology right now that we've never had as we face these kinds of challenges. And that can be used to our advantage as business owners to make sure that we are keeping these lines of communication open. Now, the next one is your customers. And we've seen some really good examples. United Airlines was one of the first telling about their policies, how they were switching cleaning. Delta followed suit. So we've seen some really good things out there. I just saw a commercial yesterday from Hy-Vee. They were talking about how their ads are going out and they might be running out of goods, and they were asking consumers for patience and just educating them that they had an awareness of the issue and they were working to respond to it and make sure that they were reacting appropriately. So, you may not have a rose-colored picture to present to your customers, but you do have reality and you can educate them. They want to know that you're doing things like cleaning more frequently or that you have made some pivots in your business. Keep those lines of communication open so that they can still support your business. If they don't know that you're open, then there's no way they can still do business with you. Now your networks are another piece. This is social media, your networking groups. What are you doing because of this thing? In a crisis, you cannot over communicate. But there are people that you do business with daily, and there are ways to communicate and get the word out so that it allows you to control the narrative to be your truth and to really support what you're doing in your organization. So leverage those networks as you're communicating. Now, the next group you need to take into consideration are your suppliers and stakeholders. These are all those businesses and people that you do business with daily behind the scenes. So keep communicating with them, keep the relationships strong. Maybe you need to have a different communication about, we're not taking deliveries through this means, here's what we want you to do because we've changed that process. Whatever the case may be, you need to think through that aspect of how the communication will roll out to them. And then last but not least, your community. This is really important. Can you put out a press release, for example, to get the marketplace out, get the message out to your marketplace? Think about your community. Who do you need to communicate with? We're not in a total crisis yet. I feel like in Iowa, we've been just a little bit more shielded than the coasts, but it is coming. And we need to make sure that our communication plan is in place to get it started. So what are the things that you can start doing now to spread the word? And, I may talk a little bit more heavily about restaurants as we go, just because that's really top of mind for all of us. They've seen a significant shift in how they have to do business. And one of the things that I keep seeing pop into my social media is what different restaurants are doing. For example, McDonald's is giving away kids Happy Meals. Burger King is doing the same thing. I think you have to buy an adult meal, but they're still finding ways to help us address issues in our community. And if you can do that with your communication, it's really just going to help solidify your place as a business in this community. So communication, number one, you have to be really focused and define also the frequency of that communication. Now, number two, and this is really challenging right now, be positive. The Chinese use two brushstrokes to write the word crisis. One brushstroke stands for danger, the other for opportunity. In a crisis, be aware of the danger, but recognize the opportunity. We are in a really unique situation here where we do have opportunities. For some people, they're looking at all doom and gloom, but as a leader and as a business owner, you have to be able to recognize the opportunities. Where are the chances for you to do better? Where can you add to your business right now? Focus on what can you do versus all the things that you can't. So, what do you sell that's like toilet paper? Not meaning, you've probably seen the meme around with the CVS receipts, things like that, but what can be a commodity? What can be transformed in the usage of it in order to help the community and create awareness? Look for successes, look for changes. Sometimes get off the news and focus on the positive. Panic and worry never help us. All they do is create this spin of being a victim. And we talk about it, Action Coach, all the time. There's this point of power. When you're below the point of power, you're using blame, excuses, denial. But when you're acting above the point of power, you're taking accountability, ownership, and responsibility. Essentially, you're controlling what you can control, and you're making sure that you are looking at things in a way that is proactive and coming from doing things as a response versus reacting. So panic and worry never help us. As a leader, look for small wins. Every single hour, there are small wins. And now I'm really excited to see that the news is picking up on all kinds of small wins in our community. There was a story on the news the other day of a man dressed in a Mr. Incredible suit going around dropping roses on people's porches. What a great feel-good story. And right now, our teams more than ever, and our community needs us to highlight the wins, because it's really easy to get caught up as we're watching the news, as we're reading the paper, in all the things that aren't going well. We need a dose of the things that are. And this is a great way to also reach out to your customers and build a relationship. Be a source of inspiration for them. So look at the things that can be done and don't always focus on what's going to be lost. Now, in your business, how can I sell toilet paper? So maybe it's not toilet paper, but for restaurants, how could I switch from being a dine-in area to delivery? There was a restaurant in New York who just switched from a high-end, high cuisine restaurant to actually providing food for shelters and people that were in need of food. And so they've become a high-end soup kitchen, if you will, and they're taking their skills and doing something really great with this. So look at the things that you can do in your business that are maybe a little bit different, a little bit out of the box, but that will leverage what you can be doing. People are looking for leadership at this point. And, sometimes less news is better. So stay off of the media all day long. Get your dose in the morning or in the evening, and then focus on what needs to be done and lead your people. If you're watching all of the negativity out there and absorbing it, it becomes really hard to put on that positive front for your people. And the thing that they need right now is for you to lead by example. You've got to gravitate to the positivity, and you have to be the most positive person on your team, because whatever you do, your people are going to look to as the example of the new norm. And so it really is up to you as a business owner to define, what do you want the new norm to be? And I'm not talking about being all Pollyanna or Mary Poppins and not keeping touch with reality, because then you lose credibility. But there is opportunity in every situation. There is a silver lining to every cloud. It just may take a little bit more to find it. Now, I'm going to encourage you, if you're struggling with that, reach out. So every single one of us has a special gifting. And I really, truly believe that my special gifting is to help brainstorm solutions for complex problems and find the silver lining. That's what I do. I do that for my clients all the time. I just spent Saturday morning with a group of clients working on it. I spent Tuesday morning working with a client through some of this. So if you're in this cycle and you can't break out of it, please reach out to me, Heather Marquez at actioncoach.com. We'll have a conversation. Let me help you so that you can step up and help your team and do what you need to do for the sake of your business. Now, step 3, know the cycles. This is really important for you to sort of look out and take a look behind. Spring passes and one remembers one's innocence. Summer passes and one remembers one's exuberance. Autumn passes and one remembers one's reverence. Winter passes and one remembers one's perseverance. So there are these cycles of economics. We have a summer, a fall, a winter, and a spring. And those cycles usually last around a 7 to 10 year cycle. So it's really interesting. Massive summer causes booms in many things. The end of the summer, we get to fall. And with that, we're going to be watching for stimulus packages to go in an announcement, and then watching the market activity. Then there's the downturn, the effect that China makes a vast majority of our drugs, which could impact us for 3, 6, 9 months. Think about Apple and iPhone. There's a question of supply chain right there, which has a massive economic impact globally. So winter in this instance will likely be shorter than the 2008 winter that we experienced. But there will be length and severity for probably 30 to 90 days as the market moves through this. Again, watch how China goes. It's not always 100% perfect, but China coming to the end of the curve, they have the peak of 400 cases per day. Yesterday, they actually reported that they had no new cases coming out of the hotspot. So if that's true, are they coming through the worst of it? There's a lot that we can gain and learn from. Italy, what's going on there? Watch Japan, track and trace the big events, what's going on the coasts, and then look at how we can do some things differently so that we can get back into the spring cycle. Now, there's a lot of discussion on the length of this cycle that we're in. Some are saying 30 days, 90 days. I just heard 18 months. But here's the thing to remember. We are in an election year. There's an election coming in November, and for the election's sake, for all the candidates, they'll want a booming economy. So there's going to be forms of economic relief. It's just how fast we can move through these cycles. How fast can we get through the shutdowns? We know that there's a lot of industries that are being compromised right now. For example, the cruise ship industry. They're going to have to look and pivot and really figure out where their next opportunities are. But the basics of business still apply. You need to have a 90-day plan. And right now, we're not talking about an annual plan. Scrap that, because things are changing so fast that whatever you plan right now, past 90 days, chances are it's going to be completely irrelevant because of the speed of all this change. So focus on your 90-day plan. Look 30 days ahead constantly so that you can help yourself, your team, your clients get through these cycles that we're in right now. Now, step 4 is change. The only constant in life is change. So you've got to understand that you can't wait. You have to be the first. You have to take action now. You have to lead change. Get out ahead of it. That's the way you survive this. And with change, you have to be a leader in it, not just in your industry, but for your people. When teams go through change, they go through cycles like grief, where there's denial and depression. You've got to help your team through this as quickly as you possibly can so that you can get out on the other side. Now, this is a formula that we cover at Action Coach a lot. We talk about it all the time. This is a formula for change. So I'm going to sort of take it backwards a little bit. And the importance of this is in 2008, way too many people, way too many businesses waited far too long to start changing. So the R in this stands for resistance. And that's really fear right now. That's how it's showing up to us. It's fear. There's going to be a high resistance to change, a resistance to do anything different than what we've already been doing, because there's so much fear of the unknown. So we have to get past resistance. And the way we do that starts with this other piece of the formula. So the F is first steps. Well, right now, today, being on this call, a great example of a first step, taking control. Reach out to your coach. That could be a great first step. A lot of times as leaders, it's really challenging, and business owners, to reach out for help because we think that everybody expects us to have it all together and to be perfect. That is such a misconception. You need your coach right now, your peers right now, more than you've ever needed them. So leverage the resources you have and reach out. Take that first step of asking for help. Now, the V in this formula stands for vision. Your long-term vision for your organization probably isn't really going to change. However, your short-term vision is going to change quite dramatically. You're going to have to take into consideration different ways of doing business more than what you ever thought you were 3 months ago. So your vision for what it looks like in 90 days is certainly going to have to change. I'm going to guess everybody on this call, when you envisioned 2020, you were thinking, best year ever. Now, for some industries, that is totally going to be the case right now. However, there are industries where that is not going to be the case. And so you need to really look at and re-examine the vision that you're casting for your business and your team 30 days from now, 90 days from now. I'm not saying change your 5, 10, 20-year vision, but change that short-term vision and create some adaptability in it. And the other piece of this is the D, that's dissatisfaction. Now, there's obviously a whole lot of dissatisfaction going on in our community right now, in our country, in the world with what's happening. But the dissatisfaction starts with you first. As the business owner, as the leader, where are you finding moments of dissatisfaction? What are you dissatisfied with? And this is an opportunity to look in the mirror. So I'm going to give you some total transparency on this webinar for myself. When I started looking at this, and as I was preparing, for this call. And, you know, as action coaches and John Maxwell team members, we've been really putting a lot of time and energy and hours into getting this content ready for all of us to share out and make sure that we are helping the businesses in our community as well as possible. One of the things that I had to really look at as a point of dissatisfaction is how well and how consistently do I communicate with those in my circle, with those that follow me in my social media or in my newsletter. And so for me, that's a point of dissatisfaction, and I had to look at myself first and know that I have to get better at putting that out there, because people don't know to look for it if I'm not putting it out there consistently. So that's something I personally have to change, the way I communicate with my potential clients, my current clients. So as a leader and a business owner, you're going to find those things that you need to tackle personally. And then you're also going to be able to look at your business and understand what needs to change there for your business. Now, this may include some products, service, pricing, delivery, staffing. You know, we've seen when it comes to products, the auto industry right now is offering to switch their product line and make ventilators. That's a huge pivot going on right now in the marketplace, but it's necessary. So what is it around your products, services, pricing, delivery, staffing that's going to need to change? And this is really important. Look at all 5 of these categories, because I'm going to guess that there's going to be something in every single one of these categories that you need to make a shift on for your whole business. And this is looking at your whole business from the ground up. What operations need to change? What HR policies or programs need to be changing? You know, maybe it's your receiving, maybe it's your billing. Here's the thing. You got to break it to fix it. So don't be afraid to break down the business and cause this change in order to be able to survive this environment. It is hard to take something you have loved and worked and put your whole heart, blood, sweat, and tears into for years, and all of a sudden break it down and start over. But if that's what it takes for you to get through this and not just survive it, but thrive in it, then why not? Why not? Again, I said I'm a silver lining kind of gal. Here's an opportunity. Maybe there's some policies, procedures, practices in your organization that you've been a little bit unhappy with for quite some time. This is the perfect excuse to re-examine those and circle back and make some changes. You're not going to get a better time to break down everything in your business and rebuild it as you want it to look than right now. It's way easier to put the blame on all these outside fiction, all of these outside pieces than say, well, as a leader, I just decided to make all this change. So, you know, if you don't like to be the bearer of bad news or the one who shakes everything up, there's a great excuse to do it. And if you don't, you're probably not going to get through this well. Even if your business is thriving right now, you're probably running into challenges. All of a sudden, Domino's, for example, is hiring 10,000 workers. Why? Because they have seen this huge surge in business. They weren't ready for that. Now, that's going to be a really big shift for them, going through all these processes and trying to pivot really quickly. So even if your business is doing well, there's things that are going to have to change in order to be able to execute and not drop the ball when it comes to your business and getting that out there to your customers. So change, get your head around it, wrap your hands around it, know that it's coming, and just embrace it. Step 5, cut back. Not our favorite one to talk about, but cost cutting has to be the top priority in the crisis. The key is to lower costs intelligently and flexibly, thus minimizing negative long-term repercussions. Cash is king. When fall happens, you cut back the trees, you plow under the fields. Don't wait. Fall is happening. If this crisis is as big as economically it could be, and we're not talking about the virus or the health, the governments will have to intervene through different different pieces. Now we know we're already starting to see that happening. We're seeing interest rates low, we're seeing stimulus packages, but you need to be proactive. Stop spending. Look at what's nice to have and what's need to have and start to figure out what that looks like. So where can you reduce outlays? And in Action Coach, we have a lot of tools and resources that we use with our business owners to take a look at this. We have over 100 strategies on how to reduce outlays. And here's the thing. You stop spending on the unnecessary stuff, not sales, marketing, and growth strategies. Those are the things that you have to continue the focus on. So there'll be stuff that you certainly can reduce an outlay on, but those aren't things. And then where can you renegotiate? Where can you look at your suppliers and get different terms or different pricing? There's also slowing down things or postponing. So for example, if you have a big capital project coming up, maybe now isn't the right time to do that. And maybe your business is thriving and it's the perfect time because you need that in order to keep up, fine. But if you're starting to see things slow down, if you're in an industry that's really concerned about surviving this, then postpone those things. Now is not the time to knock out a wall. Now is not the time to do an expansion unless you are seeing an explosion in growth. And even then, are there ways that you can do it that are more cost effective than what you're doing without that? At the end of it though, keep marketing and selling. Don't slash your tires to save gas. Make sure that you've got cash ready for purchasing. So this is really important to just, if you haven't taken a look at your P&L, if you haven't taken a look at your general ledgers, take some time to sit down and go through those things. What are the things that aren't necessary? And can you focus that energy into the things that are? And I know you probably are talking to your accountants and they're telling you, cut the marketing. Make sure that your marketing makes sense. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. But marketing is an expense if it's not done well. It's an investment if you are measuring it. Number 6, extend credit. You need money. A bank is a place that will lend you money if you can prove that you don't need it. Funny enough, but right now the banks are staying open. Get it now while they're still lending. Open credit lines. Maybe you need to get a credit card. Use personal lines as well. This is about getting your business through this as best as you possibly can. Maybe there's some things that you can refinance. Find the lowest rates, and there's a lot of stuff going on like daily here. So you got to keep on top of it. But some of the things that you need to be thinking about are, how much money do you have in reserves? How much does it cost per month, per week, per day to stay open? How long will all of this last? How do you replace it? So there are solutions out there. There's the SBA, there's government websites. Last I saw, we're not eligible here in Iowa yet for some of the SBA things that are happening, but I'm guessing it's coming. So make sure that you're really keeping focused on those particular sites and you're keeping in touch. For example, the state of Iowa is extending some tax deadlines. Watch those things. Look at our government websites. Look at our local chamber websites so that you can make sure that you have the most relevant information as quickly as possible. Because when things open up and there's an opportunity to get help, you got to be asking for it quickly. You've got to be applying for it as soon as you possibly can. Now, on the flip side, for those of you who are thriving during this, yay, what a great place to be. But this could be a really great time to use your money wisely and invest or buy a business. As we're coming out of this, there's probably going to be businesses for sale. We saw in 2008, 30 to 40% of small businesses didn't survive it. Why? They didn't have a plan. They weren't proactive. They weren't using these steps. So if you have money, this might be an opportunity to really build into the vision that you have for your business. So it's not all doom and gloom. Please hear me when I say it's not all doom and gloom. There are some really good sides to this. If you have money to invest, I just heard from one of my peers today that they had a client, and I don't know about the legalities of this, but they had a client that went and took out a $100,000 loan and started making some serious investments in the stock market. It will come back up. We know that fall is coming. We know that elections are coming. It's not going to stay down forever. It never does. It's always an ebb and flow. So if you have money, be smart about it, invest wisely, but this might actually be a really great time for you. Now, step 7 is a really hard one, especially coming from the heart. Staffing cuts and changes. One way to reduce the need for layoffs would be to cut back on hours, spreading the available work among more employees. This is always a really difficult piece for leaders. So here's some possible solutions. Take vacations if possible. If you're going to make cuts, do them all at one time or let them happen through attrition. And here's what I mean by doing them all at one time. When you have to do a mass layoff, it cuts down on the worry and the fear right after. If you're doing it in increments, and I've seen a lot of industries do it in increments, all of a sudden the people who didn't get it this time are just waiting, and they're nervous and they're stressed and they're sick to their stomachs thinking, am I next? So if you can do it all at one time, if it has to be done, then do it that way, because it is at least better for the worry and the mindset of your people. And if you can let it happen by attrition, all the better. But sometimes you have to make those hard decisions in order to get your business through this. And here's the reality. Here's the responsibility that you have as a business owner and a leader right now. If you don't get your business through this successfully, how can you offer jobs on the other side of this for people in our community? We've just come out of this really great time where unemployment was at an all-time low. And now we're going to have this flip. And when we come out of it, there are going to be people who need jobs. So they need you to make it through this as a business owner. They need your business to be hiring down the road. That may call for some drastic measures right now. So pay cuts are an option. Maybe you can make across the board pay cuts or suspend bonus programs, maybe even raises. Maybe there are no raises until you're through this. During 2008, I worked in retail, and one of the things that we saw was they asked executives to 1 year just not take a pay raise. And that was okay. We were fine with that because we knew it was what we needed to do in the company in order for things to progress and for us to get through it. One of the decisions made was to reduce the pay increase that they were going to give by 1% across the board so that it was shared across the board, and it really helped shoulder that weight. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. Maybe it is less hours, half days, redistribute the workload. Don't wait. You know, they waited to get people off the boat for the Titanic and it was too late. So make sure that you're really thinking this through and doing the things that you need to do that are going to be right for the sustainability of your business. Now, there are some businesses out there who are actually giving people time off and they're paying. I just saw an announcement on the news where Kohl's is shutting their stores down for a couple of weeks and they're going to pay their people. That is amazing. And if you can do that, by all means, do that. It's the right thing to do. And if you want to talk about employee engagement, there is no better way to bump up your employee engagement and dedication than to make sure during this time you are doing right by them. If you have the means to take care of them, take care of them. So we want to make sure that we are really tackling this, but tackling it smart, not reacting, but responding. You know, when economics says that when people are in a worry, they go conservative, not panicked, but we need to be concerned about shutdowns, lockdowns. Maybe we close down our hours a little bit more. This is about thinking about what to do and how to do it so that we get the best long-term results. Step 8, plan work from home. A lot of companies are doing this right now. The option to work from home when needed or to try a different lifestyle without having to change jobs is a win for everybody. And we're probably going to see coming out of this where there's a really big shift in more workers staying home. Now, on the plus side of this, again, I'm a silver lining gal. I've realized I actually am gaining time from not driving from meeting to meeting. I've gained several hours in my day. And there's an opportunity for your team, if they can work remotely, to gain hours in their day as well. What does that do for their family, for their peace of mind, for their budget if they're not using gas? So there's some things to consider here. There's probably some technology needed. So what does that look like? What equipment? If your team's going to work from home, do they need webcams, certain computers? Do they need a better internet connection? Do they need credentials to be able to get onto your server from home? There's a lot of pieces to be thinking through here. And then meetings and reporting. Just because everybody's working from home doesn't mean that the meetings and reporting stop. You need this now more than ever because you can't casually walk by somebody's desk and see what they're working on. And we all know that when you have an opportunity to work from home, it sounds really glamorous and fun and exciting, but there are a plethora of distractions that are happening at home. It is so easy to think, oh, I'm just going to do a load of laundry. Oh, I'm just going to do this. And all of a sudden, before you know it, you've lost hours because you got distracted. So make sure that you have checks and balances in place. Set up times for regular meetings, however people are going to report out what they're doing. And when it comes to technology, do you need Zoom or Skype? You know, what other kinds of things can you put in place? That may require some additional training. And then customer service. You know, what's that going to look like? How do you collect things from your customers? If you have teams working at home, how are they still going to take care of the customers? How are you going to communicate this to your customers to make sure that you can take care of them well? I was watching on the news and they were showing how people were walking up to different establishments trying to open the doors, and there weren't any signs on the doors to let people know that they had closed. And not everybody follows everything quite as closely as what some of us do. So what are the kinds of things that you need to take into consideration in order to maintain the level of customer service for your organization while people are working from home? What does the banking look like? How are you going to get mail? One of my clients, as we were talking through, you know, they get things from insurance, and to process that, they've got to get their mail, which means somebody has to go check the mailbox frequently so that they can make sure that they're staying up with all of that, because that leads into the finances and sustainability of their organization. So what does that look like for you? Again, it's important to have processes and systems in place. Make sure that you're communicating all of the hows, that you're setting a good example. It is really easy as a leader to be working around the clock, and what your team needs from you now are some really good boundaries, some really good rituals and routines to keep them on track and not feeling like because they're working from home, they have to be working all the time. All that's going to do is add to the stress level, which decreases productivity. Now, this may be happening for weeks, possibly even months. We don't know. So we have to stay on top of it and make sure that we are doing our best to take care of all of these pieces. Step 9, online or deliveries. So CNN put out, beginning immediately, CVS Pharmacy will waive delivery fees for prescription drugs due to the coronavirus outbreak. You may need to add delivery. How can you get your product or service to your customers if they can't get out of their home? Maybe there's online or phone delivery. What staffing changes are going to have to be made? You might have to repurpose some of the jobs or the people in your team, moving them to more relevant positions. Like I said, Domino's is hiring 10,000 people, they announced. They're going to have to move people around and make sure that they can deliver if they're adding delivery to what they're doing. Now, people aren't going to be able to come to you. You've got to figure out how to go to them. And that is going to take on a variety of methodologies, but You have to figure it out. Think out of the box. You may also have to look at your packaging and your accounts. What needs to change to accommodate this new way of doing business? If you are a restaurant and you weren't delivering before or you weren't doing takeout, you need to get a hold of a vendor right away and make sure that you have enough carryout boxes, because you're going to have more of that than what you've ever had before. Maybe your packaging needs to shift so that it can be keeping the food warm while people wait, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of pieces to consider when you're switching to online or delivery. And then how do you communicate that to your customers? If you're a salon owner, maybe you go to them, or maybe you set an appointment where you only allow one person into your facility at a time in order to make sure that people aren't coming in contact or they're social distancing. You can look at your schedules and you can change the way that you are scheduling in order to create more room for things like social distancing. So overall, when it comes to communicating with your customers, be transparent. Give them a feeling of security and safety, and help them know how to support you through this time as a small business owner. Maybe that's buying gift cards. Whatever that looks like, you got to tell them what you need from them. Another really good thing, if you've stepped up, which hopefully you have, your cleaning procedures, communicate it. A lot of times we don't want people to see that we're cleaning the office. Right now, people want to see that you're cleaning the office. Do things differently to help give your customers peace of mind. Now, step 10, market and sale. Told you we would come to that. For a business not to advertise is like winking at a girl in the dark. You know what you're doing, but nobody else does. You have to keep marketing. I can't give you enough emphasis on this. Now, your marketing is going to change. You need to increase it, not decrease it, but the old ways of marketing are not going to apply. You have to really think what's in it for them. You have to communicate and be aware of what your customer needs more now than ever. Again, going back to Hy-Vee, they did a great job in their marketing saying, we know we had these ads printed forever ago. They're getting in your mailboxes. We're running out of stuff. We know that. We're doing our best. And they gave customers a heads up so that they weren't surprised or disappointed when they got to the store thinking that they could find that sale item. So increase your marketing, but make sure that you're measuring it. You can negotiate rates right now. This is a great opportunity. There's a lot of organizations that are canceling their marketing, and those companies who do that marketing need income just like your business does. So maybe you go back to the negotiation table and you get some different rates. Create new offers or rates. Again, this is all about staying relevant. So you may have to shift as the marketplace shifts, and you may have to offer something completely new or change your rates in order to accommodate. Not at a pace that makes you lose money, because it's about staying in business and sustaining and thriving. So it's not about cutting rates and losing money, but create something new. Measure your 5 ways. Now, we can't go into a lot of detail on this right now, but on March 31st, when we do the Virtual Growth Club, which again is open and free for anybody who wants to register, we're going to talk a lot about the 5 ways. Marketing is an investment when you measure it. Are you measuring your leads? Are you measuring your conversion rate, your average dollar transaction, your average number of transactions, and then your margin? Look at all those things as you are advertising and make your advertising dollars work for you. If you haven't been measuring them, start now. It's not too late, I promise you. And then get cash up front. So don't extend credit terms at this time. Make sure that you're just getting the cash up front for the purchases, because you have to stay in a place of cash flow. And then follow up on past leads. This is really important. There's a lot of people that you probably haven't been in contact with for your business that need to know that you're still out there and you still have value to add to them. So make sure that you're following up with them. Now, this next piece, I heard this morning on a communication from Brad Sugars, our CEO at Action Coach, and it makes so much sense, but I see this happening right now. You have to be selling. You have to let go of any guilt that you may be feeling about selling. It's up to you to keep people employed and keep money circulating in the economy. There are a lot of us right now, myself included, I fell into this, where I thought, oh gosh, how can I be talking to business owners right now? And then I realized, how can I not be? There's a lot of ways that I can help business owners, and if I'm not doing that, then them closing's on me. So you need to be okay with making sales, because you can't keep your people employed and help them take care of their families if you're not making sales. Currency is like energy. It has to be moving to serve its purpose. So do your part as a business owner, and know, yes, there are actions you can take to be charitable and to support your community. And by all means, go for it, do those things. But bottom line, you still have to be able to cash flow the business above and beyond that, so that you can make sure your people have a paycheck so that they can weather this as well. Step 11, repeat business. Every contact we have with a customer influences whether or not they'll come back. We have to be great every time or we'll lose them. So your existing customers are your best customers. What can you do right now to take the best possible care? I am circling back to my existing customers right now, and we are changing our coaching sessions, not to be working on what our old 90-day plan is, but to be working through these very issues so that they can come out of this well. Create deals just for them. I'm shifting to some group coaching programs, which are much lower in rates, in order to help people be able to afford what I do. There's a lot of things that you can do for your customers. You can do bulk buys, cash up front, gift cards. Just make sure that you're communicating them and really reaching out to that database you have. You got to keep at it, and you got to make sure that you keep your costs down when you're doing this. Communication is vital. Now, here's the other piece. There's the 80-20 rule. You have to, as a business owner and a leader, be prioritizing your focus, your action, your expenditures. And you have to do that for your team as well, because they're going to feel frantic. Trust me, I'm getting so much communication every day through all channels from both the John Maxwell team and Action Coach around leading well through this and supporting businesses through this. My head is spinning. But it's up to me every single day to set the priorities for my team and help them navigate this. So I have to set priorities first so that they can set the priorities. Ultimately, get a plan. Now, I said there's 11 steps, but we added some bonus here because this just has to be said. Common sense and compassion. The key to set realistic customer expectation is to set realistic customer expectations, and then not just to meet them, but exceed them, preferably in unexpected and helpful ways. Over-deliver on customer service. I cannot say enough about this. And here's the thing. Our community went through that trifecta in 2008, and I remember working at Kohl's during that time, and here's what our customers needed from us. More than anything, yes, they needed to replace the goods that they had lost, clothes, pillows, all those kinds of things. But more than anything, they needed a safe space. They needed to feel a sense of normalcy. And in our building, we could give them that. We have the ability to carry on business as usual with an added touch of time and interaction with each of those customers, which gave them a feeling that something in their world hadn't been completely torn down and rocked. You can do that for your customers. It will go such a long ways. You just have to figure out what's appropriate for you and what that looks like. I cannot stress that enough. And then clean, 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 clean. Don't touch, don't shake hands. It's so hard to do in our society. I found myself last week, I gave somebody a hug and then I went, oh my goodness, what did I just do? And it's hard, but it's the right thing to do. Don't take it personal. Set the example for social distancing. Provide sanitizer. I am doing this call from a workspace today, and they have cleaning wipes and sanitizer all over the place, which is a great thing to see. And the first thing we did when we got into the space, we cleaned everything we're going to use. And before we leave, we'll clean everything again for the next person. Put people first. This is so important, and it's going to really hit home here. There are a lot of clients that are already hit by panic. So plan for it. Be nice, take care of them. Don't put your head in the sand. Wake up and make sure that you are doing what's right for people. Maybe that looks like you have to give a few refunds. Maybe instead of refunds, you can take a page out of the airline's book and you can do a delay of services or give vouchers for future buying opportunities. Whatever the case may be, put people first. I saw a great example of this, and we continue to see this in the event industry, where organizations like the John Maxwell team, we were supposed to have our international certification event going on this week. It was supposed to start Saturday, and I would have been there right now, as a matter of fact, but the organization made the call not to do the event. And here's why. They knew that friends and family of those of us who still were planning to attend were going to be worried. They knew that people were going to worry about getting into the country and getting back home out of the country. And it was going to cause an increased amount of financial hardship on the people coming to attend and the families of those people. So they made the decision at great financial cost to them to cancel it, to move everybody's reservations, everything to the next event, and to work with them if they couldn't make that. They still have to pay for the venue. But this is such a great example of putting people before profit. Yes, you have to stay in business, but you can still, as a business owner, do the right thing. So make sure that you are looking at it from that lens. It will go a long ways. And then, I hate that I have to say this, but be nice. Take a chill pill. Know that we need to be compassionate every single second of every day. It is a lot worse for a lot of people out there than what some of us have, and we need to keep that in perspective. We are all human. We are emotionally driven creatures, and we are finding ourselves in a state of fight, flight, or freeze. So slow down, be calm, and keep perspective on this situation. As a leader, you have such a responsibility. And stop buying so much toilet paper, people. My goodness. Let's buy what we need so that everybody can have the things they need to weather through this. Now, here's the deal. Some things don't change. Harvard Business Review did this study talking about how to navigate change. One of the ways to do that was focus on what's staying the same. Now, although the weather changes every day, we know what the weather's going to be like. We can't control it. It's still going to be cold and rainy in Iowa. We got that. People still eat. So what can restaurants do to make sure that people are still eating? Things still break. Plumbing, electrical, HVAC, people. All of these things are still happening just like they would have. We may just be feeling them a little bit more exponentially right now. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about leadership. This is so near and dear to my heart. As a leader, this is a reminder for you to step into your leadership potential. Leverage your team. See who will raise to the challenge. As a leader, you have to control your mindset. Everybody is looking to you for answers and a sense of security. They're looking at you to set the example of how to behave and how to think. Communicate, over-communicate. You cannot communicate enough. There is no SOP or systemization for COVID-19. This isn't like a natural disaster or an active shooter drill where we put things in place. This is new. Know that your people aren't going to always have the answers, and they're not going to know what to do, so you as the leader have to find them for them. Now, when I talk about answers, be humble. Be collaborative. You don't have to have all the answers. You just need to know how to tap into the collective brilliance and talents of your team and your coach in order to find those answers. You don't have to go it alone. I'm here to walk with you. You just have to be willing to reach out. This is a huge opportunity to grow as a leader and develop your team into something better than what you ever thought they were capable of being. Leaders have a lot of followers. If you don't lead them, they will follow someone else, and that may be right off the cliff. So you have a huge responsibility to shoulder right now. And here's what I know. As a country, we have a long history of turning hardship into something that becomes the envy of the world. Step into your leadership. You have this. You have a community of people that are surrounding you that will help you through this. Create a plan now. On any given day, you can ask 20 business owners, and 18 of them will not have a plan. We will see more bankruptcies from COVID-19. Today, tomorrow, next week, you need to focus on all of these stages. You need to focus on all areas of mastery, niche, leverage, team. If you're not sure what those are, we're going to cover those in detail on the 31st. And it is free. You're investing your time to get all of this free. Why? Because I have resources that I need to share with my community in order to make sure that we all get through this better than what we came into it. Operations with less revenue. Take a look at it now. How can you plan to operate knowing that in some industries you're going to have less revenue? So here's what you need to do now. Get with your action coach and make your 90-day plan. If you don't have one in your area, because we have people that are on this call from a variety of different places, then make sure that you're reaching out and call me if you can't find one in your area. If I know one, I'll send them to you. If not, come visit us on March 31st and work with us virtually. Next, list 5 ideas that you need to take action on today. What are the things that you have learned or the blinding flashes of the obvious that you had throughout this webinar that you need to take action on right now? Momentum is powerful. You have to start taking action. Don't just think about it, but actually do. Now, lastly, learn, plan, act. You have the knowledge already. Create an action plan in a few hours. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to get it done. And you need to create it with deadlines. Be a learner now. Look at fact versus fiction. Make sure that you are doing your research. Leaders need to be brave. And remember, if you got to lay off people do it in one session, not the trickle effect. These are the things that we have to really tackle. As a team, my team, we are working on how do we constantly serve through this time. So one of the things that we're going to look at doing, and we'll send out more information on this, is over the next couple weeks, as we're getting all of these resources, all of these ideas and thoughts from our leaders and our mentors, how can we share that with you? So we're going to be doing some of that through our social media, through our newsletter. And as I continue to learn and gain new ideas, new knowledge, new insights, I'm going to do my best to share it. So follow us in those channels. And then we're looking at setting up a daily web meeting that is just free for business owners to connect and collaborate and communicate. We'll send out some invitations. We're going to probably start out planning to do it every day for 2 weeks on the business days. And then we'll see what happens. If we've got great participation, we'll keep it going. If it's needed, we'll keep it going. If it's not, we'll pivot. This is a time of change. Don't get stuck in making things permanent. So again, get with your action coach, make your 90-day plan. Email me if you need some support. I am working on getting the information out there around Growth Club being virtual. But we really all have to work together to make sure that we get through this. And if you don't have an action coach, get a hold of me. I'm actually going to be doing 5 pro bono hours a week to coach 5 business owners who need help getting through this, to brainstorm, to help gain perspective. So if you are one of those business owners and you're not already working with me, reach out. It can be you can be one of my 5 over the next week. So this is my way of giving back to the community. We all have a way that works for us. This is mine. This is how I'm doing it. Now, if you want to know more about the virtual planning day, here is a link. We will be sending it out as well to everybody who registered for this webinar. We will see about getting a replay out to you as soon as we can get it processed and posted so that you have it. I know I went through things really fast, but there was just a lot of stuff to cover today. And there continues to be a lot of changes as we be flexible. So again, what 5 things do you need to take action on today? Get with your action coach. Make a plan. If you have questions, please post them in the Q&A. I will stay on the line as long as I need to answer anything I need to or that I can. if you have a need and you need to schedule a conversation, I have 5 pro bono hours every week that I'm going to be dedicating to business owners in order to support them through this so that we can thrive as a community, because that's really what this is about. So if anybody has questions, comments, please make sure that you are filling those out. Otherwise, we will call it a day.